For a long time, we were taught to believe that reality is something solid, external, and finished. A universe made of objects moving through empty space, governed by laws that operate independently of us. In this view, consciousness appears late as an accidental byproduct of matter, confined to the brain and irrelevant to the deeper structure of existence. But both modern physics and ancient inner inquiry are slowly dismantling this picture, revealing a reality far more intimate, uncertain, and alive than we were prepared to accept. At the quantum level, matter does not behave like matter at all. Particles are not tiny objects with fixed positions and properties. They exist as probability waves, mathematical descriptions of what could happen rather than what is happening. Before observation, nothing is definite. There is no location, no trajectory, no single outcome. Reality exists as potential, suspended, unresolved, waiting. What transforms this potential into something real is not force, but interaction. Observation changes the system being observed. Measurement collapses possibility into form. This simple fact quietly breaks the idea of a detached observer standing outside the universe. The observer cannot be removed from the equation. Reality responds to being perceived. This is where physics unexpectedly touches spirituality. Long before equations existed, contemplative traditions pointed to a similar insight, that the world we experience arises through perception, that the self is not confined to the body, and that consciousness is not inside reality. Reality appears inside consciousness. These traditions did not speak in scientific terms, but the intuition is strikingly aligned. Separation is not fundamental. When you observe your own experience directly, without concepts, something becomes clear. Thoughts arise and dissolve. Emotions move through the body and fade. Sensations appear, change, and disappear. Yet awareness itself remains unchanged. It does not come and go. It does not react. It simply knows. This silent witnessing presence is so constant that it is often overlooked, not because it is hidden, but because it is always present. Quantum physics reveals a similar paradox in the physical world. Even what we call empty space is not empty. The quantum vacuum seethes with activity. Particles appearing and disappearing, energy fluctuating constantly. Creation is not a past event, it is happening now, continuously. Reality is not being sustained, it is being recreated moment by moment. If reality is continually emerging, then time itself becomes questionable. In classical thinking, time flows forward in a straight line. In quantum theory, time behaves strangely. Effects can precede causes. Futures influence past probabilities. Events exist in superposition, and in deep meditative states, time collapses altogether. Minutes disappear. The sense of before and after dissolves into a single, expansive now. This suggests that time may not be fundamental. It may be a way consciousness organizes experience. The universe may not be unfolding in time. Time may be unfolding in awareness. Presence, then, is not merely a psychological technique. It is alignment with the deepest structure of reality, where creation is actively happening. The ego, in spiritual language, is the structure that insists on separation. It says, "I am here and the world is there." It builds identity from memory, fear, and survival. But quantum phenomena undermine this certainty. Particles that once interacted remain connected across vast distances. Actions here influence outcomes there. Separation reveals itself as a surfaced appearance, not a deep truth. Spiritual awakening is often misunderstood as acquiring special knowledge. In reality, it is a shift in perception where the boundary between observer and observed collapses. You no longer feel like a fragment looking out at a vast universe. You feel like the universe experiencing itself from a specific point of view. This is not belief, it is experience. Consider something simple. When you look at a tree, where does the tree end and perception begin? Without awareness, there is no color, no shape, no meaning. The tree exists as potential, but the experience of tree arises only through perception. This does not mean the world is imaginary. It means the world is relational. Reality exists through interaction, not isolation. Physics tells us the universe cannot be fully described without including the observer. Spirituality tells us the self cannot be fully understood without dissolving the observer. These two movements seem opposite, but they converge on the same realization. Reality and awareness arise together. Much of human suffering comes from resisting this truth, from clinging to fixed identities in a fluid universe, from demanding certainty in a reality built on uncertainty. Spiritual traditions call this resistance attachment. Physics reveals uncertainty not as a flaw, but as the engine of creation itself. When resistance softens, experience changes. Life becomes less rigid, less threatening, not because pain disappears, but because the relationship to pain transforms. You stop interpreting discomfort as failure and begin to recognize it as movement. From this perspective, consciousness is not something you possess. It is something you participate in. You are not awareness trapped in a body. You are awareness expressing itself temporarily as a body. The universe is not outside of you. It is appearing within you, just as you are appearing within it. This realization does not lead to withdrawal from life. It leads to intimacy with it. Every moment becomes meaningful, not because it is special, but because it exists at all. Every breath is a collaboration between form and awareness. Every perception is a quiet miracle. Modern physics increasingly suggests that information, not matter, is the fundamental currency of the universe. Information does not exist as an object. It exists as relationship, pattern, correlation. Spiritual traditions have long spoken of vibration, frequency, and resonance. Different languages pointing towards the same intuition. What appears solid is actually movement. Identity becomes lighter when seen this way. You still function as a person, but you no longer feel isolated. You recognize yourself as a temporary expression of something far larger, something that existed before you and will continue after you dissolve. Death, viewed through this lens, loses some of its terror, not because the body does not end, but because what you truly are was never confined to form. Just as a wave rises and falls without leaving the ocean, experience arises and dissolves without leaving awareness. This does not need to be believed. It can be felt in moments of deep stillness. When thought pauses and attention rests, there is a quiet sense of continuity beneath change, a knowing without words. The meeting point between spirituality and quantum physics is not an ideology. It is an invitation. An invitation to live with less certainty and more sensitivity, less control and more attention, less fear of not knowing and more openness to mystery. You are not here to solve the universe. You are here to experience it. To observe Italiano, to participate in it, and in doing so, to realize that the observer you thought you were searching for has always been the space in which the search itself appears. Perhaps the deepest truth is not something you discover, but something you remember, that before thought, before identity, before time, there is awareness, silent, open, infinite, and that this awareness is not separate from reality. It is the place where reality becomes real.